design build projects coming out of DAS came straight out of a class that Vince taught called Digital Tool. At that time, so 5 years ago already is a long time ago. Back then, that was the class that really gave you your first real understanding of different digital fabrication tools, like among other technologies. So even though students use laser cutters and things like that throughout their first 3 years of school, in fourth year in this class, you would almost go back and kind of get a better understanding of why you're using those tools and sort of start going a bit deeper. So there were hands-on projects that came out of that class. The first one was a project called Snow Cone. So it was part of the inaugural like first year winter stations ever. And so he encouraged us to create a design brief for winter stations. And we had no idea it was actually going to be picked, but it was. And, you know, it could have been, looking back, it should have been a very daunting experience, I think, because I hadn't, like I'd done some design build projects up to then, but there are so many factors here. Like it's out in the winter beaches, yeah, among other kind of complications. But really the whole time I didn't feel any anxiety or something because we were so well supported at DAS. Like the workshop crew at that time was led by Frank Bowen, as well as all the other wonderful staff there. They are really good at giving you guidance, like help you do your thing, right? So they understand that you're independent and that you have all these skills that are maybe like deep inside you and haven't had a chance to emerge yet, and they'll support you in various ways, you know, at like the appropriate pace for every person. And they like, you know, gave us a lot of trust right off the get-go. And anytime, you know, I'd come in with a question, like there's no wrong questions. The process was an incredible experience. We connected with so many students that we haven't like previous to that project. And to this day, I'm closest friends with and still connected to people who helped to work on that project. And it really did feel like our project, not just like me and my co-designer Diana's project, because as much as we kind of tend to elevate this word design and put a lot of importance on it, obviously, you know, in the actual industry of architecture too, it's not just about a designer like coming up with this idea on a napkin sketch and then they should get all the credit. It's a big community of, you know, people working together, and they have to click and communicate well and just each play their roles in order for it to succeed. So every individual person who contributed to it like was such a obvious, tangible, important part of the project. Nuit Blanche, we applied for on our own, but obviously the course set us up. Like looking back, you know, I hadn't, all these things were very new experiences for us. We embarked on like, this had a lot of electronics in it, and it was my first time dealing with electronics. And the night before, the electronics actually failed. So we freaked out, had to call various people in our communities, like Diana's uncle, who's like an electrical engineer, I think, or my friends from Waterloo Architecture, actually, who I know is good with electronics. So, you know, like we we pulled into our networks last minute and then got it to work. The coldest winter we've had when we did Snow Cone, and it was the coldest day of the year. We were freezing, like literally people had these big blankets over them, and we had like a Tim Hortons jug of coffee, and we were like warming our hands on the jug and hiding in the car for a bit and coming back out because it was so cold. But for some reason, all 20 or so people stayed there for like 8 hours.
Wow.
Out in the cold, after 4 years of architecture school, the people I'm closest to are the ones I worked on those little projects with. DAS has a lot of group projects because we work in a group, as I said, in the real world. So that's been really great. But yeah, nothing brings you closer together than a group project where there's physical consequences. And you're like, oh, I'm holding up, like in the Nuit Blanche project, this 100 pound like panel. And like, I need someone to come now and help me before I give out. And then someone comes and it's like it's very tangible that how you have to work together and how that person helped you and they're a friend and you're all connected and you're like, great, thank you. I could literally couldn't do this without you. Most influential part of my architectural education was the hands-on design builds,
Mhm.
which is why now I'm working in supporting students to be able to do the same and experience the same. And in architecture school, I literally created something with my friends who are also just students in architecture school. So it makes you believe and understand actually we have value. And so we should really try to endeavor to become more thoughtful, better designers because the things that we do will have a real life consequence.